my solution to Forrest Fenn's The Thrill of the Chase treasure hunt, which is basically set out in this map and poem from the book The Thrill of the Chase. We start with Google Earth. We go to Warm Creek Picnic Area, which is on the border of Montana and Wyoming. Montana's up here, Wyoming is here. Also, the home of Brown refers to Montana, the home of brown bears, and put in below the home of Brown is Wyoming. So that's where we start, Warm Creek Picnic Area. The next part of the poem, we follow the canyon down and take it in the canyon down. So we zoom out. The canyon down is actually this area down here, which if we go to Map Carter, we find is called Icebox Canyon. Which is called Icebox Canyon, as in the saying in the poem, worth the cold. From there we head down to another place called Trout Lake, which can also be the home of Brown. Going back to Google Earth, we find the distance from Warm Springs picnic area up here, across to the canyon, follow the canyon down, and we end up down here near this thermal feature, and that total distance is about 13.4 miles, which is not far but too far to walk. For the home of Brown, zoom in on Trout Lake. Below that we have Soda Butte Creek, and we also have Cache Creek or Cache Creek, depending how you say it. And that name, Cache, is referred to in a number of Forrest Fenn videos about finding his cache, and you'll also find the representation of the stream is incorporated in a number of images or drawings as part of the thrill of the chase. One of those drawings is referred to as Teachers with Rope, and if you look at the outline of the rope, it resembles the outline of the stream, which is Cache Creek. And this part here seems to be the part of particular interest. I'm suggesting that is probably a representation of the blaze. And up here, if you notice the rectangular shape at a slight angle, I think that's meant to represent the top of the treasure chest, as it's always depicted at a slight angle. If you go to Google Maps and go to the map outline of Cache Creek, just near Death Gulch, which is that red mark there, you'll find the outline. Although it's hard to see, there's two sections where it drops down again and continues on. It's this part here that we're interested in, so I'll just go back to that one, around this part here. There may also be some clues on Dale Neitzel's blog at daleneitzel.com in relation to t-shirts inspired by the chase. There's about 5 t-shirts there, and I think they do contain some hints or confirmation about the treasure. So if you click through, then go to Designs, you'll find there's 11 different designs, and I think there are clues in those. With the Brave and in the Woods design, I think these patterns on the side of the mountain actually indicate part of the alluvial fan where there are sediment deposits in Cache Creek. For my matching, that one there ends up here, that part there in the middle ends up in there, and the last part, this first one, that'll end up down the bottom section here. So I have prepared one earlier with some rough drawings on that. This is my rough illustration of that concept, but I think it indicates the stream, Cache Creek, rather than a particular part where the treasure may be located. I'll get to that later. Getting back to Dale Neitzel's t-shirt designs from his blog, or the click through from there, the links. No place for the meek. I think if you zoom into the top of the bear, you might find the outline on the top there resembles the Thunderer mountain range, mountain peak. The Thunderer is actually one of the peaks around the search area, and I think it's an indication of the location generally, rather than the specific location. If you look up the Thunderer on Wikipedia, you find that it is a Marvel Comics character, and the alter ego is Jerry, who acted like a meek weakling while in his civilian disguise. So I think No Place for the Weak may be actually a reference to the general area of the Thunderer. The other t-shirts that are of interest are The End is Ever Drawing Nigh, which indicates drawing a line down and to the left, which will be relevant later on. Got Mad Thrills, I think, is an indication somewhere near the treasure location, which I'll explain later on. Dig Deep might also be a hint that there is some digging involved, although it may not be down. And the Skull and Cross Picks is also relevant. For the Skull and Cross Picks, this is a section of Cache Creek, just near Death Gulch. This has been turned upside down, so that's actually south, and this is north down here. So you zoom in to the alluvial fan, and you find this figure that looks a bit similar to the skull with the cross picks. This is an image of part of the stream, and you'll notice if you superimpose the skull on that, like that, there is some similarity between the depiction on the t-shirt and in the stream. The catch is, if you look back at historical photos of that section of the stream, you will find that the shape of the stream has changed remarkably. This is 2006. This is the other way around, but that's still 2006 for that area there. Then we go to the next one, 2009. The shape has changed again, but this is around the time that the treasure was actually placed in the location. Then we go to 2012. It's changed again, but still not the skull shape. And then 2015, we've got that shape. So it wasn't until 2017 or 18 that Dale produced these t-shirts, so the depiction is clearly not of the stream as of 2010, when N buried his treasure, or hid his treasure. Now back to the poem. The end is ever drawing nigh. As I explained, that will be a line which we will draw later on. There'll be no paddle up your creek. That indicates the direction. It's up the creek, and it's probably rocky and doesn't carry much water, although heavy loads and water high probably indicates with spring melts that there will be significant volumes of water and also alluvial deposits, as in this part of the stream, this part of Cache Creek. The next part is if you have been wise and found the blaze. The obvious contenders for the blaze are these formations here, that one, and Death Gulch. But apart from that, nothing really stands out, not on Google Earth anyway. So this is where we go to another map. This time we use Zoom Earth, and if you notice the same section of Cache Creek, nothing particularly stands out except for this one point up here, which basically looks like a beacon. And we center that and zoom in. It's basically a rock formation, and based on this scale here, it looks like it's about 20 feet across. So that is the blaze, and for location purposes, you notice this formation here looks a bit like a map of Italy, so if you need to locate it, that's what to look for. Now we switch back to Google Earth, and that is the blaze on Google Earth. That's the same formation we showed before, looking a bit like Italy. So we zoom in, and going back to the poem, if you have been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease. This is where the other part also comes in, but tarry scant with marble gaze. I believe that tarry scant is actually rhyming slang, or Cockney rhyming slang, for Cary Grant, the actor, and in particular it refers to a famous part of one of his movies called Mr. Lucky, where Cary Grant is actually taught how to use knitting needles, which I'll explain the relevance of that. Just Google Cary Grant knitting and you'll find the movie and the scenes and the images. The relevance of that, going back to Google Earth, is that in the search location, we zoom out, there is another feature, another mountain called the Needle, and up the top near the summit, the peak, is a feature called the Eye of the Needle. The Eye of the Needle is actually this feature here, which is a bit blurry, but anyway, that's what we're looking for. It doesn't actually appear on Google Earth, which is a bit strange, but anyway, there are other ways to find. Using naturalatlas.com, you'll find that the Eye of the Needle is right next to the needle, so it's basically on that ridge at the top of the mountain. The exact location is not critical, but I'll explain that to you. This is where we start drawing lines to figure out the location of the treasure. So our starting point is up here near the Eye of the Needle, and we draw a line down to Death Gulch, which is somewhere about there. So from there we head over to the blaze, which is just about there, and then we go just about there, Then we head quickly down to the line, which I mean is probably the direct route, or straight down the hill, whichever way you wish to read that. And that is the location we're after, where those lines intersect. So the distance itself is not important, but where those lines intersect that's your location in that grove of trees on that bend in the stream in Cache Creek. Now we zoom into that location and see what stands out in that piece of land. So we'll just clear these. We know what we're looking at. And what you need to find, we'll zoom out slightly. And what you may find is that there is an appearance of the treasure chest. That is kind of the lid. That is the square. That is also part of the side, which you can see from the classic photos of the treasure chest. This is the type of image I'm referring to. We have the angle on the top. Now when you zoom into this location, the ones that stand out are these bright images, this one and this one. And if you go to these bright images, there's another one here, that one there. If you zoom into that, and it's very hard to see, but if you tilt your screen slightly to emphasize the brightness of the image, you'll find there's a star just there. You'll find there's another one just there. We zoom out. Then zoom in here. It's not so clear. There's a white image. That's another star. There seems to be a plus sign here for some reason. But if you look at those stars, that follows the same curve as the cover of Once Upon a While. This is the cover of Once Upon a While, and that is the curve that I'm referring to with those four that I've indicated. But the main one is this one here. So we go back to Google Earth, and the one that corresponds to that location is down here, and you'll find there's a top of a star there, and it's right on the border of the Google Earth images. You can see the join. So that's where I think the treasure is. Also, you'll find there's a shape here, a triangular shape, along there, back there, and there. So that seems to match up with the cover of Too Far to Walk. I'll show you that now. This is the cover of Too Far to Walk, and that's the shape there, that triangular shape cast by the shadow. I think may be an indication that that is the location of the treasure. And if you also notice these dots along the edge here, along the border, I will show you how they relate to the final location. Back to Google Earth, and this is the part we're interested in. Now if you've got the compass in the right part here, just double click if you need to reverse things around a bit. Going back to that location to zoom in, and that's maximum zoom. So what we do now is we tilt this about 10 degrees, and notice what happens to that join. You start seeing tiny dots appear along the line, and I think they may be confirmation that this is the treasure location as indicated by the title of Too Far to Walk. So the final coordinates I'm getting for that location are something like 44.829371 minus 110096831. In particular, the log, which seems to be indicated in white, and I think that brave and in the woods in the poem may indicate that the treasure is actually inside the log. And based on the t-shirt designs of Dig Deep, I don't know if that's an indication that it may be something like 6 feet inside the log. So you'd have to work out how to get inside the log, how to get the chest out, and that's probably why Forrest Fenn mentioned that you probably need a torch. Now going back to the poem, what's left? So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answer I already know, I've done it tired and now I'm weak. I think that's a reference to his father, and one of the chapters in The Thrill of the Chase about how Forrest Fenn looked for his father's details on Google and nothing much came up. I think it's about Forrest trying to make his mark on the world and leave something worthwhile. I think that's why the answer I already know, because he's already stated it in his book. The reference to trove is actually may be a reference to an online resource for locating books. It certainly is in Australia, but I don't know about the United States. The reference to I've done it tired and now I'm weak may actually be to the book The Catcher in the Rye, and the relevance there is actually the cover of that book. This is the cover of The Catcher in the Rye, and if you notice the patterns here, it seems to resemble that section of Cache Creek where the treasure is located, that part there. It's rather a bizarre connection, but I think that is the connection, and that's a reference to the story in The Thrill of the Chase about buying 3 books from Borders. For Whom the Bell Tolls was another, which I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bell inside the treasure chest for whoever locates it. The Great Gatsby, I can't form a connection, but there may well be a connection there. The other parts of the poem, so hear me all and listen good. Maybe it's just simply saying follow the instructions, but it may also be a reference to Tahe, as may be brave and in the wood, in that I think the location may be part of the Bannock Indian Trail, from what I have seen. Your effort will be worth the cold is probably a reference to Icebox Canyon, and I give you title to the gold may actually be a reference to the cover or the title pages of the books, the 3 books actually, that The Thrill of the Chase, Too Far to Walk, and Once Upon a While, as either confirmation or clues in finding the location of the treasure. One of the other t-shirts, Got Mad Thrills, also seems to be a representation of the lines drawn in the stream, and probably the W, which was pointed out as the 2 omegas near the end of The Thrill of the Chase. I think you'll find the omegas are the shape of Warm Creek picnic area and also the final location in Cache Creek. One of the other unusual aspects is that the solution started on the border at Warm Creek picnic area. There's also an indication here which I think represents the border of a topo map with a cross, which may also be the location of the blaze. So in some respects the blaze is identified but in a hidden kind of way. And the other part is that the border of the image on Google Earth is where the join is, and where the dots are, it also finishes on the border. So That may be the reference to Borders' books and indicating part of the solution. With the final location, the lines which appear out of place are these ones here: that, 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 and that. It seems to be there's some extent ghost trees, or trees which are casting a bigger shadow than they probably have. So my guess is that Google Earth may well have been involved in helping Fenn with that in some respects. If you zoom around, you probably find there's some indication of trees, but it's just totally out of proportion with the shadows cast by the other trees. For example, this one here just seems to be far too long for the height of the tree. That one there, I don't know if there is a tree, but that's another indication of what has been done. So if you go back to the location, here are some images to try and give you some idea of the imagery, that there could be a treasure chest hidden in the Google images. This is the area here that I'm talking about. There's one drawing depiction of it. There's another which is probably better with that angle of the lid of the chest. And this one here is a bit more bizarre, but anyway, it's use some imagination and you may find a chest is hidden in the Google imagery or the satellite imagery. This is a drawing which includes some imagery of the star patterns. You'll notice that circle there, that seems to match up with something else. And I'll show you an image from Google Earth Pro which shows the star pattern, which shows this something like this, but the pattern seems quite strange. This is the image from Google Earth Pro looking skywards or east from the treasure location. This pattern here is quite odd. I thought the circles were more prominent down here, but possibly not. So that may be another clue that Google has helped Forrest Fenn plant in their imagery. The other image that I believe has some clues or confirmations is this picture of an Indian, a Native American Indian, which I believe has various references to Forrest Fenn's treasure location. I think there is something in the background here. There's something here that reads DEA, as in Death Gulch. The image down here, I think there may be that looks very similar to that part of the stream where there's kind of a W there and there's a beach. So I think there are references to it, but I can't see clearly enough to get a take on what is written in there. So to actually recover the treasure chest, if it does exist, this is what you need to do. You need to get on the Beartooth Highway, go down to the Lamar Valley, and there's two trailheads. And that's the first one for the hikers, and there's one further down for stock and horses. So we zoom out, and in fairly direct terms you'd need to go from about there down to there, across there, down to Death Gulch, and then up to this part here. So it's about 6 miles, but that's fairly direct, so you probably need to add maybe 1 or 2 for that. I'm guessing that Fenn probably used a horse when he moved the treasure chest and the contents in there, but we'll never know unless Forrest Fenn tells us those details. when the treasure's found. So whoever it is, good luck with your search, and I hope you find what you're looking for. And one other reminder, as always, make sure that you look after your safety. It's a matter of finding the treasure, but also being safe in the process.